So hello to everyone that we can see and we can't see. So just a real quick thing, we're not all at the beach. Well, not most of us are not at the beach. The people that have the flavorful backgrounds are outside sales and project managers that help to contribute to this article with me. So I wanted to make sure that they kind of stood out just so that you can make some connections and put some faces with some names. I hope that everyone will nicely stalk some of these after on LinkedIn and make some connections and reach out because they're a very valuable information. So we're going to dive right in. So I'm Wendy Graves. I'm partner with Make It Happen Signage Academy. We're a training academy that is based out of Jeffersonville, Indiana in the US, and myself and my training partner, Mike Lev, do traveling across the country. So that is me. I'm going to introduce Alex next.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Marcheschi. I'm the editor of Sign Builder Illustrated, which is, the monthly magazine that I'm sure a lot of you know about. Also, the corresponding website, signshop.com, where we host a lot of Wendy's articles, a lot of expert opinion columns from Joe Aranella to, David Hickey from ISA. And we also post podcasts and some of the latest installations from across the country with some cool pictures and behind the scenes stories. So thank you all for being here. Nice to meet everyone. Wendy's mainly gonna host this call. I may pop in with a few observations or questions depending on what gets brought up, but thank you all for being here and looking forward to the discussion.
All right, so up first, we're just going to run down the people just really quick with a quick introduction of who they are, the company they represent, and how long they've been in their role. And I'm going to start with Krista because Krista and I spoke about this exact topic probably 2 or 3 years ago. And so, Krista, will you start us off?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Krista Edwards. I'm a project manager working for Media Resources out of Oakville, Canada. Um, I've been in the business for about 15 years. I started project management about 13 years ago. And I also work with the Sign Association of Canada, Women Breaking Barriers, and I used to do a lot with the Young Professionals Network, but I'm not that young anymore. So
You're young at heart, Krista. That's all that matters. I'm going to run to Matthew first, if you want to, and then we'll tag Ashley in. How's that sound?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Matt DiSalvatore, I run the sales and marketing side of the business here at Creative Signs Incorporated in Orlando, Florida. And we have been in business. Well, I've been at the business. I'm 42 years old, and I've been in the sign business for 43 years because we're family owned and operated. So, and then something fun about myself is that I'm so much in the vacation mood today that I traded in my office chair for this beach chair, and I also drank my coffee with a salted rim today instead of a margarita. So,
Next level, Matt. Ashley, I don't know how you deal with him.
I don't either. Hi, I'm Ashley. I run operations, heavily involved with the project management team, overseeing them directly here at Creative Signs. Uh, Also born into the business, but I got married young and took off young. Had some kids and then came in to help Matt as a sales assistant, which morphed into project management. Did that a couple years and took a break to do run an IT company. Why not? And those skills lent to project management, bringing me back here to Creative Signs.
Thank you.
Something interesting about me, I love chickens. I love like little like pet chickens. I love them. Mhm.
All right. What we've learned about Ashley today. Let's see. We'll do Jenna. How about you and your team? I see Dillon, I believe, is on as well.
Yeah, hello. I am Jenna Blackburn with Fast Signs in Toledo, Ohio. We're on the border of Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, right in that nice little pocket. I'm the director of business development and started as inside sales and worked my way to outside sales into the director of business development now. Been here for about 9 years. And Dillon is my, my go-to, my right hand. So I'll let him go next.
Hi, yeah, so I work with Jenna and she summed it up great. And I've been in the industry for about 12 years and done project management for three. So fairly new, but I've worked in the sign industry for about 12, 13 years.
Great. Glad to have you guys. And last but definitely not least, let's do Tori and her partner in crime, Michael. Whoever wants to lead off.
I'll go first. I'll kick him off so he can come in at the end. My name is Tori. I'm the director of project management for national branding out of Detroit. We work on projects from Florida down to New York, over to Canada, and everywhere in between. I have a group of project managers under me and a group of designers, and one of our sales guys is Michael Stevens. Also, my brother from another mother is kind of what I've always said. I've been in the business for 19 years. Started in a little sign shop in northern Michigan and moved my way down into what I'm doing now today. And a fun fact, my children speak French. My husband is French, so we go to France once a year, and I just love traveling.
Oh, wow. How do you say we love signs?
Oh gosh, no, I don't speak French.
J'adore sign.
Oh, well, there we go. Way to step up, Dylan. Well, fun fact with that, that is awesome. All right, Michael, you're up next.
Michael Stevens. I'm with Signorama Troy, which is just outside of Metro Detroit. We're partner companies with National Branding. I've been in the sign industry for 25 years. Been with the company here actually 25 years as well. I started as a receptionist with the company, so answering phones, handling paperwork, filing actual printed invoices, faxing things at that time. And then worked my way through mainly on the sales side, inside sales, customer relations, even management with the company. Now for the last few years, I've been a lead outside sales for the team here. Fun fact, we'll piggyback off the chickens. My oldest son, who's 11, is deathly afraid of chickens. Any chicken that can run, he does not like chickens. And outside of the office, I'm heavily involved in my boys' sports, 11 and 6 coaching. And on Saturdays, I tend to find myself drawing up about an hour's worth of new plays for every flag football game they have on Sunday. So I'm very overly detailed when it comes to certain things like that.
Wow. So we have chickens and sugar on our coffee rim and foreign languages. I mean, this is a great group. Look, I told everyone we were going to have fun and I did not lie. So, as we were talking and I was preparing for this, we can all agree sales and project management is a major topic and a concern for a lot of companies. So I just want to dive immediately in, and those who are joining, please let's just keep all of our questions to the end. I promise you, I think a lot of them may get answered, and then if not, I'm going to watch the chat and allow for some time for that. But let's just dive in. So we're going to exclude Ashley and Matt for the moment because you were born, almost born, into the business, right? But could you quickly go through each one of you and let's do backwards. Let's do Tori and Mike and then Jenna and end with Krista. How did you join the signage industry? Meaning, did they find you someplace else? Did they notice you in an amazing restaurant, thought you did great customer service, and hired you on the spot? Very quickly, because this is the least of the topic, but I want people to understand how you ended up in that role.
So I straight out of school, I was a graphic designer. I went down and lived in Texas for 6 months and decided the Texas weather was not for me. And I came back to Michigan to my 4 seasons. And a classmate of mine from high school opened up a sign shop and it just flourished from there.
Okay. Michael, what about you? You said
I
you
was a
started
senior.
there, correct?
What's that?
You started at that sign company?
Yep, yep. So I was a senior in high school, and there was a local sign shop that I passed to and from my high school every day. Needed a job for extra money for senior year for social activities and such. Now hiring sign, red and white, standard paper banner in the window. Came in, applied, and then that was on a Friday and started the next day on Saturday, and the rest is kind of history.
Okay. Jenna, what about you?
Yeah, I went to college for marketing and digital multimedia, and had an internship at a sign company. So when I graduated, I was like, well, that was fun. And so just when I moved, I just applied to sign companies and landed here.
Dillon?
I am muted. Okay. I actually started off doing production work and just kept doing whatever random job they wanted me to do. And then I moved into doing this since I had the knowledge of doing all of the other aspects of the job.
Okay. And then Krista, what about you?
Sorry, I did forget to mention mine is also a family business.
I wasn't going to if you didn't, so
I forgot.
yes, yes. So she does, yeah. But you did, and this again, sparking, you started at the ground level, learning everything, and then moved into the positions.
Yeah, I actually started off as the courier driver, and did that for, I can't remember how long, this is so long ago, but let's say a year, and then I moved into doing the secretary, and then they were kind of out of options for PMs, and they kind of threw me in there, and ever since then I've been doing it.
Well, and so I think it's good for us just to kind of understand how people are found, right? So it's a really good so I guess to Michael's point, yard signs catch attention, right? So we've learned that. Manufacturing day is probably a huge benefit, right? Because that's going to grab your high school slash college, obviously family, right? Considering joining that way. So it's good just hoping that everybody kind of hears the background of everyone involved. So let's talk about the handoff. I've got lots of questions from people about the handoff. So I want to start with the outside sales rep. Talk about what that looks like when you come in with a potential sale and when does it leave your hands and get transitioned to your project managers. So project managers, we're going to pause for a second and let's start with the actual sale. So Matthew, would you mind to lead off in this?
Sure. So at Creative Signs, the salesman takes the incoming inquiry, whether it's a referral, something that comes in from our web marketing or whatever. We have a bit of a discovery phone call, find out if we're going to be a good fit for the client. They're going to be a good fit for us. We work through solutions, come up with pricing, and the handoff for us happens when we have money or a PO in hand and a approved design or brand book for the project. So the project manager may be on the email chain, but the actual handoff does not happen until we have those two items. And that is also a fully described scope of work on the job. So what we're doing, a layout that the client has approved, and money in hand of some sort, a promise or a deposit.
Okay.
And then that handoff looks like on the email chain, us just introducing, bringing in the project manager, copying them on. The salesperson does stay on the email chain all throughout the rest of the job, doesn't get dropped off, just so we can kind of keep tabs, see where things are at. And then we let the client know up front in that discovery phone call or in the meeting where we're meeting with them on site that, hey, we're always going to be here, but we're kind of hyping the project manager from the beginning. They're much more organized than us. They're better at making sure that the ball is getting pushed forward on your permitting, if that's included on the project. And we're just letting them know all along the lines that, hey, the project manager is better at managing projects than I am. So it doesn't feel like they're getting swapped out to some like, oh, I liked you, Matt, and now I'm getting handed over to someone else. So we're kind of hyping the project manager the entire time so that the transition doesn't feel awkward or weird to the client.
Okay. And so, really quick question. What type of system are you using to input and categorize all of that data, if you don't mind to
Sure.
share, or if you
Yeah,
can share?
we use Square Coil,
Okay.
which is sign industry specific. They're at ISA and most of the local um, associations.
Okay.
They attend those, but Square Coil, and that's how we found out about them, was through our local association. We had tried 4 different softwares prior to Square Coil. And Ashley can speak more to it, but that's where we do all of our estimating and project management. And so all of the notes go in for the installers, completion photos, all of that through Square Coil.
Okay. And one more question. And Michael and Jenna, these are just questions I'd like for you all to answer too. Of course, if you're allowed, please always just, don't answer something if you're not comfortable. But if the salesperson is staying on with the project manager after the handoff, I imagine that's a lot of emails that you are then seeing continue to come. How do you organize those emails so that you don't continue to feel like you're pulled into that situation?
Sure. So I personally, I let all of my project managers know that if an email is more than a few sentences from the client after the handoff has happened, I'm not going to read all of that. So if it's paragraphs and paragraphs, if there's something that needs to get done, you're going to either have to send me a task in our internal software, or I don't know if anybody else uses this, but I love it. And I tell all my project managers about it. They can @ me in the email and put my name. And then when I'm checking my mail, it will say @ and I'll be like, okay, I know I have a to-do on this email. So this email might be long, but I actually need to read and digest the whole thing because I have an action item on this. So they know internally, if this is a long email, Matt's not going to read it because he gets hundreds of emails every single day. So
Good. And then last question, because it's been asked, what is the size of your shop, meaning total team members of your shop?
Somewhere between 25 and 30 on any given day. We're hiring and yeah, so right around there.
Appreciate that. All
Absolutely.
right. So let's say, Jenna, would you mind to kind of talk about your process quickly and then just maybe hit on those way you organize in the system? And then would you mind leading with the shop size?
Yeah, so ours is almost identical as Matthew. The handoff is right when we have money or PO, and artwork, obviously, approval with the branding kit, Pantones, whatever. That's when I give it to Dillon. We usually do just an email introduction. Like, hey, this is your project manager on your project, Dillon, meet him, blah, blah, blah. There's a template email that we have for that. And then Dillon takes it from there. I usually am CC'd, but usually by that point, if there's any questions, the customer would call me if it's more urgent, besides paragraphs and whatnot. We don't use any sort of project management tool like Square Coil right now. We just utilize Corebridge and our Gmail stuff and just try to keep everything streamlined that way. We do, however, use like Company Cam for surveys and whatnot. So that does help speed up the things, a process. Our design team can see it. Obviously, Dillon can see it. Production can see it. So it helps with all of that. What was the other one? The shop team. I think we're around like 13. Since we are FASTSIGNS, we're locally owned and operated. So we fab in-house in the back, but it is a smaller team, around 13.
Okay, thank you, Jenna. And Michael, what about you guys?
So similar to actually Matt and Jenna, but typically that handoff would happen after PO has been issued or some sort of deposit. Generally, I would say about 90% of the time we actually have, solidified artwork or a brand book as well at that time. So we're teeing up the project manager for this is the final proof, et cetera. But sometimes that might be one of the hurdles as well with getting final artwork approval, or maybe they want to change something small that the PM would be handling from that spot forward. Typically done via email, so the PM would be CC'd on there. I'd give a brief outline of this is the sign, illuminated channel letters, the location where it's being installed, and what we've currently received. So we have deposit, we have estimate approval, and we have artwork approval, for example. There'd be like a little simple checklist that's in every introduction email. And then I trust the PM to do her thing. Renee's a great partner in crime with me. She sits 10 feet away. So if I do need to get reinserted back in a conversation with the customer, she usually just shouts at me. But most of the time I let those emails just do their thing. I am CC'd on them, but I trust that the movement on the job through permits, final design phase, permit approval, it's going back in fabrication, and the next step outlines are handled appropriately. Shop size. So we're about 45 to 50 members in total. That's sales team, project management, design team, and production. So kind of flows within that total. And we use a couple different softwares. CoreBridge for the estimating side in terms of getting the project back to production as well. We use HubSpot as our CRM. So anything pre-order, I'm basically in HubSpot. That's my go-to for all of my leads, deals, and follow-up information.
Okay. So I'm going to lead with a question with you, and then we're going to work backwards just very quickly with the sales. A question came up. You have, and Matthew, thank you for the way that you put into words that I literally copied and pasted on the relationship that the outside salesperson makes with the initial client, right? You all are the initial relationship. How do you step away and remove yourself and not jump back in?
That is a very hard thing to do. But again, I trust my PM to make sure that communication is, continually happening, to make sure that the progress of the job is moving forward. I look forward to the end product. So if I have a building sign that I know is going to take 2 weeks in permitting, 4 weeks for fab, I'm looking forward to the day that's going to be installed. And I'm going to go back out there and meet with that customer and shake their hand and, thank them for the business. But I just truly, I trust my PM to make sure that the project is moving along. And sometimes it is very hard to not communicate, especially when they might have your name first on the email. So you think that's directed to you, but you gotta take a step back and let the PM do their thing so you can focus on the next upcoming deal.
Jenna, what about you? Do you start to shake when you see, it's just, you just have a ownership, right? As a salesperson, you've made that relationship. How do you keep yourself out?
Yeah, I think it's the same as Michael. It's like you really want to answer them and get back to them as soon as possible to let them know. But unfortunately, I have to let Dillon handle that. I mean, sometimes we chime in and like say, hey, I noticed something else, or had a question, or I thought of you because I saw this, and kind of like still let them know you're top of mind, or they are on your mind. Just kind of get one more little touch point. But still just let and trust my team to handle that next step for sure.
Matthew, what advice do you have? How do you step out without shaking?
I don't know. I'm probably a terrible poster boy for this because I don't really, because I'm always on the emails. I think for the most part, I do a pretty good job if it's not in my lane. But if I still consider us a team, right? So if there's something that I can help with, and I know the project manager is working on 40 projects and they're not going to get to this, if I have the answer and it's a simple something or other, I'll chime in on the email, even if they're not addressing it to me. And if the customer has sent, we do have a rule. If the customer sends 2 emails, even if it's back to back, like 2 days apart, it is the salesperson's job to step in at Creative Signs and either go get an answer from the project manager or provide an answer to the client, because we don't want them to be frustrated. We also have a rule where sales is the shield is what we use, where if a client is frustrated or angry, It is sales' job to step in and be a shield for the project manager because we do have that relationship. So we're picking up the phone. If we see anything in the email where the client is upset, we're jumping on the phone and becoming a shield. I will be a verbal punching bag to all of the clients to protect my project managers because they do the things that I'm not good at. I'm good at being a verbal punching bag though. So I'll do that part and I'll help protect my project managers from angry clients and try to de-escalate. So sorry, long answer and probably not the best answer. I'm not the best at stepping out of it, but I do. And Ashley lets me know when I've overstepped my bounds and done something I'm not supposed to do. So.
No, absolutely. And I was going to say, first of all, maybe the sugar on your rim keeps you in a place where you can be the punching bag, right? Good job. But Alex, I feel like we have our first quote, sales is the shield. I don't know. That's pretty epic, right? For those project managers on the call, if sometimes you've ever felt like you are not being protected. I mean, that's a real good quotable thing because it started with them, right? Sometimes they do have to step back in and be that shield. So, yet again, Ashley, wordsmith, you all, it runs in the family, is all I'm saying.
Wendy,
So,
I was
yeah, go
gonna
ahead,
jump in
Alex.
if you don't mind. Matthew, would you mind giving some specific de-escalation tactics? Because I know you're saying, you step in and you kind of take the brunt of it, but some people might not really even know how to do that. So could you give us
Sure.
generalized advice?
Yeah. So the more personal a conversation can be, the better, right? If you're going back and forth via email, you're missing tonality, right? Someone could be, I mean, there's a Key and Peele skit out there. I don't know if anybody watches that, where the guys are texting back and forth, and one of them thinks that they're in a fight, and the other one thinks everything's completely fine.
Yeah.
And that's what can happen via email, right? They're reading it with someone is just saying it matter of factly. So hopping on the phone or going and seeing someone in person, right? So we might have installed a sign and a client is like, this just looks terrible. And then I go visit them on site and we look at it together. I'm like, so what was it you were talking about? And they're looking at it and they're like, I don't know. Maybe it was a bad sunlight day or something. And what could have been us replacing an entire sign turns into that person just had a bad day or something. So the more personal you can get, seeing someone face to face, getting on the phone with them. And sometimes you can't de-escalate, right? Sometimes someone is so upset and they're unreasonable, right? So I've had to fire clients. And that makes my project managers and my team feel so supported, right? When I step in and say, hey, client, so sorry. It sounds like we're not a good fit for you. We're going to finish out this project, but it will be the last project we ever do for you. And I try to make those phone calls public so that everybody in the office can hear it. When I kind of know that it's going to go sideways like that, I'm just kind of off in the corner, kind of speaking a little loudly so that they can hear that, so that they're edified in that, yeah, wow, my salesman has my back, because they know I'm getting commission off the job, right? By me firing that client, I'm saying no to another paycheck, right?
Yeah.
But it's more important for me to keep our internal customers, which is our team, happy, because they're going to touch every single client, than it is for me to keep that one client.
Yeah. And it feels better for them to know that because you are getting the commission, you are willing to stick your neck out there and support them. So that's good advice. I appreciate you adding that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Great question, Alex. So let's jump over to the PMs. So now most of you guys have said we've got the PO, a deposit, some potential artwork already either in or approved. What happens next? So I'm going to start. Let's talk, Krista, since you don't have the salesperson. Is that the similar process with you guys in your organization? And then if so, would you then lead on how you follow up from the PM side and any tools or tips that you have for keeping yourself organized?
Yeah, for sure. Ours is slightly different. Once we get the PO and the approval from the customer, again, money in hand is always a good indicator that the project has started. Um, but I think it was Matt saying that the artwork is also part of the handoff to the PM, but in some cases for me, artwork is part of my job to obtain after the approval and the go ahead for the job. So that's just a slight difference that I found. So once I get the job handed over to me, I put all the information I have, PO, artwork I've had, any important emails, background into a communal drive that we have. That can be accessed by our project managers, can be accessed by sales, our design team, and any management, so that everybody knows if, say, if I'm off one day unexpectedly, someone can go in and they have all the details of the job there so that they can go forward with it as well if need be. We also use a system called Business Central. It's online, and that's where we do our order entry. And it tracks jobs kind of for us as long as we keep the dates updated. But also mine, like our shop, we do more installation. We do LED manufacturing. We don't actually build custom signs, but we do a lot of installation. So that's where my job comes in. I'm an installation project manager. So it's a little different. But yeah, sorry. And what was your end question there?
And the because we didn't get with you on the what is your all shop size? Now I know you have different locations, so if
Yeah.
you feel free to share the different locations and the size if you know, or overall, whatever works.
So our head office is about 100 people, and that includes shop installers, project managers, sales. And actually, out of head office, we have a couple shops in the immediate area that also have about 10 to 15 employees. These additional shops were about 5 minutes away from our head office shop. And then we have in different provinces, we have two shops in Alberta, one in British Columbia, and those shops are about 40 people each, 30 to 40 people each, and we have some sales teams in the US. So it is quite a large operation that we have.
Yes. And I
So
know, sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say visibility is key. So us to have a communal drive where everybody, including people from the US, can go on and visualize the job is really important to keep all of that information together.
And I know you are a big spreadsheet person and color charts. Do
Yes.
you find that? I mean, are you still using that? I know when we talked a few years ago, you were talking about that. Is that still something you use to organize your day on the projects?
Absolutely. My manager knows when she comes to me and she asks me a question, she is going to see a very colorful Excel sheet, updated with all my dates and notes and everything. So I find that the best way for me to keep organized. Even though the online system that we have does, it's just not my cup of tea. I don't like the visual of it, so I do it myself.
Okay. And then before we move on to the rest, I did have a question from someone I want you to speak on is how do you avoid pointing fingers at the outside salesperson?
Um, I think you just have to, when you're working for a company, each team member is your team. So you can't really point fingers at your team. You got to take accountability as the company. Apologize and try and fix it. There's no point in pointing fingers, just get the job done. So that's my take on it. There's no he did, she did, they didn't. It's all we're working as a team. We need to get this completed as a team.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to Torey. How about you lead off with the PM as well from what Michael says is your all's process?
Yeah, no problem. So we're a little unique because we have a national division too, on that national side. So if Michael sells a big project at several sites, my national team takes that. We have a 15-step process that my PMs start with. So with the national side, we'll get a spreadsheet of 15 or 20, 30, 400 locations, doesn't matter what it is. and they put it within the software and they run it from there. So we, by that point, all their brand standards have been done. We set up a bit of their sign standards because gosh knows they never bring sign standards to us, so we have to figure that out. And then the team just runs from there. So depending on how many projects we have rolling, my PMs, I'll have one or two or three on the projects, and then they'll take it where they're going to sign code, double check the sign code in the city. They're getting the installer set up nationwide. They are getting those permits approved, and then it goes back into fabrication and then out to the installers. So from there, then you just look at it and we have, the projects to start getting completed. And my sales guys just want to see that big chunk of projects done at the end.
Sure. Now, are you all using any sort of organization? Like Krista really loves spreadsheets. What do you guys use?
Yeah. So our owner is a tech nerd, is the best way I can put it. So he developed a software for us called Brand Boss. It houses everything. Our clients can go in on their end any time of day or night and take a look at where that project is, make any comments within there. And then my project managers are making calls, emails, and everything from that system. And it tracks and logs all of it. Before that, we were in Monday.com from a project management standpoint. From a billing side, we are Corebridge.
Okay. All right. And Ashley, what about you guys?
Hi. So yeah, Matt's sales team is handing over active project that we've got the payment terms sorted, approved design, and a clearly defined scope of work. And I review and make sure that it meets all that criteria, hash it out with sales if it doesn't, and then assign it to a project manager depending on their skill set and their current workload. And so then we're looping them in on the email thread, and they start with permitting if it involves permitting, doing the research, what needs done. They're gonna prep everything to go do a survey if it involves a survey. One of the first things they're doing, if it's not clearly defined up front, is finding out what the timeline is for the site. And then they're off to the races. It's, similar to what Torey says, a bunch of checklists depending on which steps are involved. And they're working through and coordinating with the client, coordinating with vendors, coordinating with our internal team. And most of that's done through Square Coil. We have a few tracking spreadsheets as well.
Okay.
Anything makes a project manager more happy than clicking buttons off and getting tasks done, right?
Yes.
They feel accomplished. Everyone feels accomplished. You did say something, Ashley, that caught my attention is assign it based on the project manager's skill set. What does that mean for you guys and your team?
Sure. So on our project management team, I have 3 defined job roles, job descriptions. 4. So I've got project managers. I have a junior project manager role that's someone with less experience. And then I have a project coordinator role that's an entry level admin role. So the project coordinators are overseeing the surveys and they report to a senior project manager. So their first level of escalation is another member of the projects team. If they've got a question, it's someone who's knows the industry, knows the job, knows the clients. And so if they've got an escalation, they're going to go to that senior project manager. Hey, I've never run into this on a survey before, or this is what the installer said. What am I supposed to do? So yeah, that skill set, it's an entry level skill set. Then they can promote, after a year or so to a junior project manager, and junior project managers promote to project managers. They've got more robust, larger scale projects or more complicated projects. And then a senior project manager, has people that direct report to them.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know, just show of hands. Does anyone else break up their project managers like that? Does anyone else? some people are off camera, but when you said that, that was interesting to me. And I think that that's a really good added value to consider, bringing people in. Not everyone is going to be a successful project manager from day one. Can we agree? Most of them don't even know what signs are, right? So we have to start somewhere. So I really, really liked that. Dillon, would you like to talk to me about your process and what goes on after Jenna hands off?
Yeah, sure. It's actually very similar to Ashley's, except I'm just the project manager. So I will do the research and the permitting. Once we get any sort of design, site survey, anything else we need done, I just coordinate that. Um, then ordering materials, anything we don't stock special, I will order for that project. Communicating with the customer, setting up when expectations of when they can have it installed, and basically just going from there.
Okay. And then how do you guys avoid the finger pointing that can happen sometimes?
Um, we don't really do like a ton of finger pointing. I had a really bad old job and we used to call it a blame storm, instead of a brainstorm, but we don't really, it's just it doesn't really matter who messed up because we just have to fix it and get the customer happy.
Right. Hey, I like that. That sounds like number two, Alex. Are you making notes here? Blame storm, right?
Yeah.
So one of the questions, and we're going to start with the project managers, and then we'll work backwards. So another question was goals. Okay, so sometimes you might have compensation associated with project managers. Sometimes you do not, meaning additional on top of, as opposed to commissions or otherwise. What do you think keeps you motivated? Please don't everyone say the client experience, because while this is recording, I might cuss and call you out. But tell me, what really keeps you motivated day in and day out to follow these projects to success for the end result, right? So Dillon, I ended with you. Let's start with you. How do you keep yourself motivated?
It's a good question. I am really detail oriented, so I really like things to be perfect. So it's one of those things where making sure everything lines up correctly and everything looks good and rolls out smoothly. It's very satisfying for me. It's kind of probably weird, but I enjoy that. So yeah.
But maybe like a Chick-fil-A gift card every once in a while or something too, right? Come on, Jenna.
Yeah. I mean, I
Slide
wouldn't
it
say
over.
no.
You won't say no to some food, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Ashley? What is your goal? How do you keep yourself on track and focused?
So we operate using the Traction EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And so we have our company purpose is to seek God while prioritizing our team and providing excellence to our clients. So we're a faith-based organization. We tell everyone that right up front in a phone interview. We reiterate it in-person interviews, and that's who we are and what we're about. And so we're prioritizing our team. Morale is really important to us. On so it's tough. It's tough. Matt's talking about sales as a shield because we are getting uncomfortable emails and phone calls from clients that are up against a deadline from their customer. And so like on Fridays, we play a Friday song and we jam out every Friday to a song that's either relevant to the week, some kind of humorous callback, or just let's gear up for the weekend. And then holding to our core values. We've also defined core values as an organization, and excellence is one of our core, probably Matt's favorite core value. Um, and so we're striving and driving to that. It's on the rough days, that's how I power through.
Mhm. Absolutely. I'm wondering, is there any like back end beverage tossing in for that Friday afternoon with the party? You know, lighten it up, right? And then Tori, what about you guys? You know, high
You brought me
level
in. You brought me in right at
project.
the beverage time. So really,
Yes,
let me tell
exactly.
you about how I incentivize my PMs. So actually, I do a happy hour for them the first week of every month, as long as we hit goal. We are very number centered, a very number centered project management team. We talk about numbers every day, which some people do, some people don't. I've noticed that a few of my project managers who are on this call, they are very competitive. They want to hit that numbers. They want to hit the best PM that we have here, who's doing amazing numbers, but they're all striving to beat her. But we always want to make a team, right? So I try to bring that team culture in. We do that happy hour, and honestly, I've been doing it for 2 years, and it is the best thing I've ever done. It gets them out of the office. We go to a local restaurant nearby. I buy appetizers. They have a cocktail, and they all just learn about each other and really learn about how each other works outside of the office. And they've formed a lot of bonds that way, and it's just really, really been beneficial to me. And the other thing is I look at the year. ISA is a big thing at our shop, and everybody wants to go, whether it's in Vegas or in Florida. So I take my top PMs, not just number wise, but the top performing ones who've done a really, really great job getting their projects done, being there for the team, and really just, taking national branding as a whole.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I like that. And I see some people writing notes. So I'm pretty for sure boss happy hour question mark has
Yeah.
landed across some of you. So any owners in there, sorry, happy hour sounds like a must, right? So thank you all for that because again, the project manager is that very important back position role, right? That makes
Mhm.
people look amazing in their sales role. And so it's really hard to keep the focus on the goals if you're not feeling valued and appreciated. So I think it's great to kind of hear how everyone is hitting those goals with some motivation. So our outside sales. Money. I know you're going to say it, right? You're all getting rich. You're just rolling in cash. So let's talk about it. Michael's laughing, so maybe he's the richest of us all. I don't know, right, Michael? But no, really, a lot of the times people say it's money, right? Money is what motivates outside salespeople. Okay, don't say money and don't say customer experience. What truly has you every day going out and dragging it, killing it, doing all the stuff you have to do back for the team?
I can go first. Not
Yeah.
money. That is certainly important. But for me, I would have never thought I'd be in this position after 25 years. Public speaking, sales, communicating with customers, drawing anything was definitely not in my wheelhouse. And as I've grown over the years and in the industry and feeling very comfortable with obviously selling signs, knowing the construction, the back end, knowing how to draw them. A square is a square, a rectangle is a rectangle. And we joke about that all the time in the office. That's really the biggest part for me. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do because I'm good at it. And I can suggestively sell, to a customer if they're asking for the world and they don't need the world. I'm not going to sell them that. That's not right or fair. I will price that option out because they asked for it. But I think a big, skill set of mine is giving them what I think they need based on my experience and, essentially based on the project as a whole. And Torey kind of touched on this, a little bit. Obviously the camaraderie of the team, the happy hour. We all went on a cruise together, I think 8 or 9 years ago. It was awesome. We had big goals set for that year. We were a much smaller team at that time. We can't certainly do that now. But that was a team that included all of our spouses as well, and we had a blast. And again, it was a goal set that we launched in January. We kept talking about it openly. We have numbers and metrics and charts and things that we track that are probably way beyond what most sign shops track. But I think that keeps us all on our toes. We're all certainly a little bit competitive. Some more than others. Like myself, I'm very competitive. I always want to be the next salesperson, or PM for that matter, in whatever category it might be. And I think it's good to have that. We certainly don't put each other down or anything like that, but we're very positive and open about, all of our metrics and key performance indicators, and work well together for sure.
I agree.
Michael, I was gonna ask an additional question. So that was interesting that you acknowledge you're very competitive and you want to make as many sales as possible, but you also don't want to aggressively upsell or oversell the client. Can you talk about managing that balance of does that just come with time and experience?
Yeah, it definitely does, because I'm involved with a lot of the new reps that get hired on here and the training. Specifically, most sales reps don't have any sign experience whatsoever, and that's one of the biggest things that I always say. Like, don't let the client kind of dictate, in a way, the conversation and what they're looking for, because their eyes are always really big, or they've seen this sign down the street it has all the bells and whistles that a sign could have, and then you got to kind of bring them in a little bit to reality. And I think our design team does a really good job with that too, because once they see it on paper, I would call it maybe just a less drummed down version of their, perfect scenario. It really does help. And they're like, okay, yeah, I understand why this would work and is effective. And this meets my budget maybe more than what I was thinking. So it's definitely a key point for sure.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenna, do you want to go next? What keeps you motivated? And I have an opportunity. I know some of you well, right? And I talk to some of you often. And so I also understand that the size of the company, right? Where if you've got a larger company, you might have more salespeople. And that gives you, to what Michael alluded to, that natural competition. And so what does that look like when maybe you have to stir and keep that fire going inside of you?
Yeah, so we just have two. It's myself and another girl who's been here a year. So we're at two different levels because we are professionally at two different levels. So it is a little different. So what keeps me moving is I'm just like him. I am super competitive. So I have to look at my last year's numbers or my last month's numbers, and kind of go off of that and always just do better. I know there's like going to bring in the happy hour back in. There was a job that I wasn't allowed to open champagne until it was completed. And actually we completed it. And I don't know why I haven't popped champagne, but it's in the fridge. So I think I might do that because my boss isn't here today. So maybe that's the game plan. Don't tell her. But I mean, I think what keeps me going and competitive and waking up every day to go back in the sign industry. It's a different industry than anything else. And sign people are just different. We're just built different. And it's like a huge fun family. Like we're all obviously somewhat competitors to an extent, but like this is still like super cool and like geeking out right now that we all can come together and still kind of share what we do and how we can help each other. But like just making a difference in our community, whether that's through referrals or helping organizations or nonprofits, it's still just a satisfaction of like knowing you're literally helping someone along the way and making a difference to them.
And I'm always listening, Jenna.
Yes. I was gonna say, I saw that she was on. I was gonna call you out, but I feel like
she's not here though.
Yeah, she's not there. But I bet you if you
now I
that
know.
champagne, yes, she'll show up.
So Matthew tomorrow.
Yes. Matthew, what about you?
So whenever I need more motivation, my wife and I just have another kid. We've got 5 kids, and they're expensive. So no, money is definitely part of it. I think every salesperson, we're a special bunch, right? Salespeople, right? Money is part of it, but in sales training that I did, they went over all the different motivators for salespeople. A lot of us are very competitive. So every week at my sales meeting, I'm putting up the numbers where everyone stacks up, and everybody always wants to be number one. And then we start it over at the end of every month. And we're just got that competitive spirit going on at our sales meetings. Like, oh, look at that. I'm on your heels. I'm gonna catch up. So that's a part of it. In the sales training that I was talking about that had the different motivators, they told a story about a guy who every quarter he would win a stereo system, right? And the sales manager asked him, he's like, man, I went back through the thing. You've won like 4 stereo systems. You must really like stereo systems. And he's like, no, they're all sitting in my garage. I'm just competitive and I like being number one. And they're like, oh, so we can change that and do something else and save the company money. One of my guys that does, like, if he's messing up on something, if I hit him on his commission, I know that that's what's going to motivate him if we're not as profitable on a job because he messed something up. He's also Mr. Efficiency. He wants to get as much done with as little time as possible, where he'll cut corners on stuff. And I'll tell him, I'm fine with that happening as long as you're giving the project managers what they want and you're assisting them and I'm not getting complaints. And if I do get that, then I will hit him on efficiency and make him start doing things, not just busy work, but things that are going to assist the project managers and maybe fall into their category a little bit. So he's less efficient and it just irks him to have to do that, right? So he's motivated by efficiency. So if I make him less efficient because he's messing up, he doesn't want that. And I'll put him on like a 30-day probation or something. And now that's going to assist. He's going to be like, all right, I'm not going to do this in the future. I'm going to make sure that I give them everything that they want. Another motivator for me is just, I know you said not to say it, customer satisfaction, but it is true. Like, this company, Creative Signs, is my family's legacy. I say that we are building a multi-generational empire. I want my kids and Ashley's kids to take over this company. My parents have 15 grandkids, and I want them to be a part of the business if they want to be a part of it. So Creative Signs reputation is vastly more important than the money to me. And I like what Michael said about when you're building that relationship with a client and not overselling. Like, someone will come to me, it just happened this week, where church came and they said, oh, we want to get an electronic message center. And they happen to be in Orange County that has a terrible sign code for churches with electronic message centers. And I'm like, you can get one, here's the cost. But if I were you, I would spend that money elsewhere. I would get a normal sign. And because I know that when they go and tell someone, it's okay. So it's the difference between being a vendor and being a trusted advisor. Mm-hmm. And I believe you can gain that notoriety with a client in a discovery phone call by being honest with them and shooting them straight. And you're going to get referrals and more business in the future than just getting that one sale that's a little bit higher because you oversold them something. So.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree. And sometimes just because we can sell it doesn't mean that it's the right fit or that we should, right? So really that balance is super important. So
Wendy,
again,
I was gonna ask
yes,
one question here.
Mm-hmm.
This is for anybody. Matthew brought it up, but a lot of the times when ISA contributes an article to us, or it comes up a lot, these permitting issues, coding issues. You might have a client who wants something very ornate and specific, and then you have to explain, well, these laws are in place. How often does that discussion actually happen in a day-to-day, in a weekly scenario at a sign shop? That's open to anybody. I was just curious myself as the editor. I'm not in those discussions mainly, but I do see a lot of content written about it.
We're in Florida, so every day. There's 400 municipalities in the state of Florida, and every one of them has a different sign code.
Really?
And they are becoming more and more restrictive. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Florida has been one of the hardest ones. It used to be California, but Florida has definitely been the hardest for us in the last 2 years.
And do you reach out to ISA during moments like that, or do you have a sort of a lawyer on call, or how do you handle something like that?
Yeah, David Hickey. Oh, go ahead.
Sometimes it's just patience. And sometimes the clients don't like to hear that, but sometimes it's patience, and you're more apt to get more of sugar than you are with anything else. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, David Hickey's one of my best friends in the industry. We talk all the time. He's with ISA Advocacy, and he and I, as well as some others here in Florida and with ISA, ended up. I mean, it was like 9-year process, but we ended up getting, there was articles about it in ISA last year.
Yeah.
City of Orlando didn't allow electronic message centers for the longest time. And through a client of ours pushing through and trying to get a variance, we ended up getting that across, where now millions of dollars in revenue are coming into the sign industry, specifically in Orlando, Florida, because electronic message centers are now allowed. And that was all started through ISA, David Hickey getting in touch with City of Orlando and just slowly telling them, hey, Orange County allows this. It's better for business. Here's an article about it. And then just continuing on that conversation. And David's great. Anytime we run into an issue, we reach out to him and he steps in on our behalf just as a part of our membership. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, appreciate that.
If I could ask, let's see, I think maybe Torey and Ashley, one of the other questions was, what is your salesperson to project manager ratio? Like, do you kind of watch that? And if so, could you quickly give us what that is?
Yes, definitely. So I have 7 project managers and let's say 2.5 salespeople.
Okay. And then Ashley, what about you guys?
We have the sales team has 5 people on it, with 2 active out there, outside sales reps. And I've got 5 members on my PM team. And with those different job roles, and we were talking about KPIs earlier. I am working on streamlining my KPIs to know, okay, is it number of projects to project manager, dollars to project manager, to install crews too, sales to PM to install. So that's where our actual numbers are, and it's an art, and I'm not quite an artist.
That's funny. So if anyone has any questions that is listening in, feel free. Erin, I hope that we answered your initial question that we posed pretty quickly. But in the meantime, just raise your hand if you do have a question, and then I'll let you directly ask it. But because we are cognizant of time, I want to go through just really quickly everyone until someone has a direct question, and just give what is a tip for success in your role. So if someone is joining as an outside sales, if someone is joining as a junior or a full-blown project manager in the signage industry, what would you say your tip is for success? And we'll possibly close on that question unless I see hands go up with any questions. So, Ashley, I ended with you. Let me start with you. What is a tip?
Sure. I love the basics. I'm all about back to the basics. I saw Peyton Manning speak one time, and he said that fundamentals are what they're working on 80-90% of the time that they're training. So for me, my tip is documentation. If you don't document it, it didn't happen. If you don't follow up that phone call with an email, you might as well have not talked to them. So that's document. If you're afraid I can't tell you how many times past Ashley has done present Ashley a favor when I'm looking at a job and I'm like, oh, I already did this. And I wouldn't know it if I didn't make myself that note that I had done it.
Very true. Very true. Dillon, what about you? What is a tip for project management success?
You really gonna have me go after Ashley? I mean, that was a great answer. That was pretty much, she pretty much nailed it. If I was to give somebody just starting a tip, really just knowing all the different signs themselves, because sometimes it's hard to bring somebody in to like the sign industry. They're just like they don't know really anything. So knowing how things are made and the whole process itself really tends to help, because you might see a problem that the installers will encounter that you might not know if you've never installed anything before.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I didn't tell him to say that, but that sounds like a great plug for Make It Happen Signage Academy. Boom, there it is. Okay, moving on. Let's see, Tori, what is your tip?
Communication. And it's kind of a lame one and one that we all know, but honestly, communication's the best, especially with your clients and your salespeople. Clients, you got to remember they don't know anything about signage. We're the group of signage nerds here. We're the one that knows every in and out and everything in between. Sometimes we have to over communicate to the client to make sure that they understand what is going on, even if it's just as simple as putting a couple of channel letters up on the wall. They sometimes don't understand that process or understand the permit process. We cannot assume that they do. And that's just as much as our responsibility as it is the salesperson.
Mhm. Absolutely. And Krista, what about you? What would you say your tip is?
Based on my experience, I would say networking and building relationships with people outside of your company, but within the industry, attending events in person, coming on Zoom calls like this. I find that really helpful, because when you're in a jam and you're like, oh, I know somebody who can help me, it's great to have that kind of network of people in your back pocket for when you need something.
That is amazing. I love being able to text people and be like, I need your help. I do it often, right? And we can't build those relationships if we don't get out and network and connect. I think sometimes we can stay in our shops and get bogged down, but we have to really take those opportunities to go visit some associations and networking events, local and nationally, to really like plug in. I think that's a great tip. Jenna, what about you?
I would say just be transparent with yourself, with your clients, with your team, your goals, your relationships, networking, everything. I would just be transparent with all of it. Be yourself. Stay humble and work hard.
I love that. Be yourself. That is for sure important. No one likes a fake salesperson. Would we agree? So, Michael, how about you? Tip for success.
Everyone has really good answers here. I said one, earlier, but I would say, I think it was a Dillon who mentioned something. We have a lot of successful project managers on our team that started in sales. So they might have been in inside sales or outside sales. So they evolved, knowing the ins and outs of, maybe how to price a project, how to visualize a project, how to give the customer examples and more than one option, like I alluded to earlier. And now they're beasts in the project management, field with knowing everything that they're armed with on the sales side, and how to push a project forward in a different fashion. I think that's incredibly powerful to work your way through the industry, because it is, again, it's every day is different and you never know what you're going to expect. But that's what makes it so fun. So eventually you ping pong in 10 different directions and you find your niche. And I think a lot of us have done that on this call here too.
So many opportunities to grow in this industry, which is why I think what has happened, it sucks you in and then it doesn't let you go, right? Matthew, what about you? Tip.
Get rid of silos in the company, right? So
Mm.
sales, project management, we can kind of be in our own worlds and live in those. But if we look at it as a team, and so if I was speaking to a salesperson that we're getting into signs right now, I would say respect your project managers, be thankful for them, buy them Starbucks every once in a while. I think back to, I used to be a server, right? And I would tip the cooks. I would give them money at the end of the night, and then they would give me my orders before other servers, and I would get bigger tips, right? Because you're naturally, as a salesperson, going to say yes to clients and want to bow down to everything that they say to do. But if you're sabotaging your internal staff by doing that, then you're not doing yourself any favors in the long run. So yeah, get rid of siloing and be so thankful for your project managers, because they do what you can't. They do what I can't. So.
And that's a wonderful advice. We talk a whole lot about thanking those around us. So our fabricators, our install team, the person that's the first point of contact answering the phones. I think sometimes, you get busy and you think about it, but exactly to your point, it takes an entire team to manage a sign project. Very few times is someone coming in with a project that one or two people touch, right? So it really takes a team, and putting forth good effort and making sure that the whole team feels valued is amazing, right? So we have about 2 to 3 minutes left. Does anyone have a cross question for anyone or a comment that you'd like to share?
Torey, you mentioned earlier that you guys have a setup for your project managers, like what Ashley was sharing. I'm curious what yours is.
It's actually very, very similar to your guys's. I don't have a project coordinator. I guess I have a project intern, if that makes any sense. That interns with me in the summer. That would probably be more of a project coordinator. But other than that, it's exactly the same.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anyone else have any general questions? So I know we have happy hour that everyone liked, right? So that's happening. I think Michael mentioned a cruise. I don't know who's down with the cruise, right? So,
I don't want to talk too much about our business and drinking, but honestly, on the cruise year, our boss gave us the goal. We hit the goal in what, September, Mike, was it? To go to the cruise. So then he had to extend it. So then he's like, well, if you get this far, then we'll throw in the unlimited drink package. Of course we made it that far.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes it really takes, doing things a little bit of creativity outside of the box. And we also have to recognize, not everyone is driven by the same thing, right? It's not always monetary. It is just those pats on the backs, those little special notes that get left behind with the, little trinket that they love. Just whatever makes your team thrive and show appreciation. At the end of the day, right? That matters. Alex, do you have any closing words before we wrap up this SBI and Make It Happen Zoom event?
Yeah, just thanks so much for everyone taking the time out of their day and, kind of being willing to share some shop secrets. Like people mentioned before, there's that fine line of being competitors, but also working together. So I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. We will be posting this entire conversation on the SBI YouTube page, and then I'll publish it on signshop.com. So I'll let everyone know when that happens, and you can share it on your various pages. And then, of course, there's the article that Wendy originally wrote that started this conversation. So nice to get to know everyone here a little bit more, and I'll stay in touch with everybody. And, once again, thanks for taking the time out of your Tuesday. I know you probably are getting a bunch of emails as we speak, so we really appreciate it.
Right, absolutely. And again, I want to thank you guys, and there will be a follow-up article that I will be working on diligently as soon as we get off. Just kind of giving some of the follow-ups to the things that you guys suggested, because at the end of the day, right, you all have some of the day-to-day knowledge, key experience, and opportunities to share. And I want to make sure that those who weren't on or who may not be able to listen will be able to read in the article as well. So there will be a follow-up for that. And I greatly appreciate everyone for investing their time and energy as well. I'm thankful for the community. And if any of you all ever need any project focus or any otherwise, reach out to myself or Alex, and we will definitely make sure that that happens and get some attention to some of your team and your projects. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Go grab that margarita until we see each other again.